going to be looking at the connections between health, wellbeing and learning outcomes and your current thinking and practices in your school. We want you to rethink about the engagement practices and priorities you have with your families and whānau around health and wellbeing programs that you offer, and be tuned into a community development model and what we mean by that. Because people talk about whole school approach, but actually when you ask people what they mean by that, not a lot of people can describe what it means. Community development does not mean that the whole school just get out and do something on the same day. And plan actions for significant outcomes. Today we want you to go away with one idea. So if it comes to you, you've got the evaluation sheets and it asks you for your one idea. So if it comes to you and you don't want to lose it, put it on that sheet before you leave. So the first part of today, we gave you a lot of data and evidence that we've been collecting about our approach, but also about some of our key stakeholders, and in particular parents, what they thought. We've also given some data around the recipe, about the HBS approach being an effective way, an effective method of improving outcomes in your school, and in particular the power of educationally powerful relationships between whānau, school leaders and students. Parents are powerful partners, but interestingly, the parents that are most concerned are the ones in decile 1 to 4 schools and those who are non-European. Very, very concerned, very highly concerned about the health and wellbeing of their children. The other interesting thing is, although they could name that things were happening in schools and they thought schools were doing quite a good job, they couldn't actually name what it was you were doing, and they couldn't name what impact. And in particular, there was nothing around emotional health and well-being, and yet that was the second most important thing to parents. That was the greatest area of concern. We also talked about the theory for action, how just concentrating on health and well-being alone is not going to improve educational outcomes. It has to be part of a bigger picture. So the review tool that you've got inside your kitty, we're going to be using in this session, deliberately looks at all of those aspects, including leadership, because they all play a role. And we know that leadership for equity and excellence, and in particular educationally powerful relationships on that rubric, are very strong drivers for improving outcomes. If you're scoring highly, if you're concentrating your efforts there, you're going to get good bang for your buck. In terms of community development, I think one of the easiest ways to describe it is that throughout New Zealand history and some of the health promotion activities that have happened in health-related activities in schools, we started off in the 80s where it was done to people, and we still have some done to rather than with. One would argue that perhaps immunisations are to rather than with, and for a very good reason. But we know that if you want to be effective in health and wellbeing, education, and also social development, it's when you have developments with people, where it's driven by the people, where they have a voice, where they are part of the action and the decision making, you get far better outcomes. You also get sustainability. I've just put in a diagram that summarised what Heidi said, is that we know that these are key. We also know that a facilitator can play a powerful role, an HPS facilitator in helping you. It's a free service. I just wanted to come back to our focus around educationally powerful relationships, because they have been on the radar. We got Educationally Powerful Relationships, I think was the name of the ERO document, and that was based on a lot of research around Russell Bishop's research and evidence, as well as the best evidence synthesis, and international research. There was also research done, or an analysis by some real heavyweights in terms of Māori in education, And they say that, yes, schools, it's not that you're not doing anything. They're saying, yes, you're doing a really good job. You're doing lots of stuff. In fact, you're doing heaps around trying to get relationships going with your whānau. But what they're saying is that perhaps you should periodically look at the quality of the relationships and actually ask whānau themselves what it's like for them. And that self-review processes are really important. So we think that the HPS tool does a really good job of helping you do that. So what I want to do today, and some of you may have done a similar exercise, is you have on your tables this, and you have on your table either a plastic bag or an envelope. And what I want you to do is, these are all sorts of things that happen in your school. I want you to do a little self-reflection exercise with people in your group. Now, don't think too hard. First thing that comes to your mind, decide where you think they belong. Are those things events, health, wellbeing and learning events? Are they about making connections? Are they about learning talk? Or are they about systems and processes? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes with your group to decide where they belong.